Okay, welcome to Math for Friday, February 19th. We will be doing Worktext page 219 and 220 and reviews page 217 to 18. Both of them should say more lines and angles patterns at the top of them. More lines and angles patterns. Okay, we're going to skip that one page. We're going to do that one page after you take the test. That would be the one that went with yesterday's new paper. So that one would have been page 215, 216 of reviews, and it would just say lines and angles. You're going to save that one and do it after the test. And make sure you have Worktext page 219 and 220 and reviews page 217 and 218. I would have put that at the top of the video so you could have seen what pages you need. I always put that as the heading for the video so you know what pages you'll need that time. All right, we're going to start with the charts. Okay, so lines, rays, and angles. First of all, we said a line is a straight path that goes in two directions. Okay, so they have two arrows pointing either way, so that means it goes that way forever and it goes that way forever. Okay, parallel lines do not cross. So you have two of these side by side and they're both going the same direction, so they're never going to cross. Intersecting lines do cross. So again, you have two of these. One's going one direction and one's going another direction, so they cross. They could even cross perpendicular to each other so that they look like a plus sign, right? Does not matter how they cross, as long as they're crossing, they are called intersecting lines. Okay? Then a line segment is part of a line. It has two endpoints. So these dots are endpoints. So you could measure this and see how long it is. That is the length of a line segment. That's what they mean by line segment. It's only part of a line. And then a ray is part of a line. It has one endpoint and goes on without end in one direction. All right, so here's the endpoint. So this is where it starts and it goes that direction forever. All right, it could have the endpoint on this way and the arrow over here and go that direction forever. So either way, it would still be called a ray as long as it has one endpoint and one arrow. All right, and then an angle is formed when two rays share the same endpoint. So here's the endpoint for this line segment, and here's the, not line segment, ray, and here's the endpoint for this ray. They have a common endpoint, all right, and it forms an angle. Okay, that is when you're forming an angle. And angles can be very large or very small, or they can even be right angles like we learned, and now we'll look at that on the next chart. All right, so this chart is line segments and angles. You can take line segments, see the two endpoints, that's a line segment, to make different shapes. A line segment has two endpoints. An angle is formed when two rays share the same endpoint. A vertex is an endpoint shared by two rays, and that would be that. These are all the vertexes of these corners. You might call them the corners. They're also known as vertex. And a right angle forms a square corner. All right, so we can put a square in the corner, then that is called a right angle. And we were working on that yesterday, although I had forgotten to give you a 3x5 card to stick in the corner so that you could see when it was a right angle. A post-it note would work if you have post-it notes at home, or if you have a 3x5 card at home, just get it so you can check these corners out to see if you can fit. Remember, it has to match up perfectly, one corner and another corner. It can't just fit on one line, it has to fit on both lines when you stick it in the corner. All right, so I wish I'd remember to give you that, but I'll give you one when we return to class. If not, you can just find something at home. It could be any sharp piece of paper that's small enough that you can easily stick it in the corner of these. All right, so take your paper now, page 219 and 220 from your math work text. That's the colored book. And at the top, you're going to see a blue box, and that is like your word bank. Okay, you're going to use that as a word bank to fill in the answers. Okay, so let's look first of all at the number one. Number one shows you both arrows, two arrows on either end. What do you call that one? That one is just a line. Okay, it goes in either direction forever and ever. That one was just a line. So just write the word line. Okay, number 2, that wouldn't take long. Number 2, and we're going to cross, by the way. Number 2 shows 2 lines, and they're crossing each other. So what would that be? Intersecting lines. When they cross each other, that's intersecting lines. Okay, so go ahead and put intersecting lines. And again, they give you 2 lines to write it on. So on the top line, put the word intersecting, and underneath put lines. And it needs to be plural because there are 2 of them. Now, please listen carefully on this next one, okay? Because you might look at that and you might say angle, and you might have already written angle, because some of you, I'm sure, are working ahead of me, even though you shouldn't be. That is not asking about that. If you look at number 3, they have a red dot. They want to know what you call that red dot. It is the vertex, where they meet. Remember, I told you, when 2 rays share an endpoint, that is called the vertex. Okay, so if you wrote, for number 3, if you wrote angle, you need to erase that, because they're not asking about the fact that it's an angle. Yes, it is an angle, but they're asking, what is that red dot called? And that, where they meet, where the 2 rays meet and have a common endpoint, that common endpoint is called a vertex. That is why they have it red there. Okay, so if you put angle, erase it and write the word vertex. Okay, the next one, number 4, has a dot on one end and an arrow on the other. No, I'm sorry, it has dots on both ends. My bad, I looked it up wrong. It has dots on both ends. So what is that one? A line segment. Very good. That is a line segment. All right. I'll give you time. But you can write line on the top line and segment on the bottom line. If you write big, those of you that write small, I know you're going to be able to fit it. Don't write too small, though. I need to be able to read it. All right, go to number 5. Number 5, it has arrows on both ends, so you might say it's a line, but they are also talking about the orientation of it, going straight back and forth. We didn't even look at this on the chart today. What do we call a line that's going straight back and forth? Like the horizon. Yeah, horizontal, horizontal. Okay, horizontal line. So you can put horizontal on the top line and the word line on the bottom line for those of you that have a hard time making it fit. Horizontal line. It is going straight back and forth like the horizon in the distance. Sky above, land below, the horizon. That's where the sky and the land meet. It's called the horizon. Horizontal. Okay? And yesterday my camera was aimed so you could see the blinds, and I told you my blinds, there you go, my blinds are also horizontal. They go straight back and forth across. Right? Next one shows 2 lines, and they're running side by side, and they're never going to cross. So they are parallel lines. Very good. Parallel lines. Make sure you spell parallel correctly. It's sort of weird because it has 2 L's in the middle and then 1 L on the end. So make sure you're spelling it correctly. Parallel lines. And again, make sure you make it be plural because it's 2 lines. So plural lines. All right, the next one is another line. You see arrows on both ends, but this time it's talking about lines that are orientated this way. So that is called a vertical line, like the stripes on my paneling. They're all vertical, going straight up and down. Vertical, okay? Vertical, all right? Vertical line. Please put vertical line. All right, and the last one has an endpoint on one end and an arrow on the other. That's the one I looked at by mistake whenever I was trying to do number 4. I was looking at number 8 by accident. So, endpoint, an arrow, that is a array. Very good. That is a ray. Okay? All right. Now you're going to need your red colored pencil for this next thing because you're going to be drawing little tiny squares in the corners of the right angles. Okay? You're also going to be putting a red dot, just like you saw that they did at number 3. They had a red dot that they put for the vertex. You're going to put red dots for every vertex. Okay? That's what you need to be doing. So, even though I don't really want to do this because it's going to make my red get messed up when I do this, but I'm going to show you what I mean by that when we get to that. All right, so let's read the directions for this next section. It says, mark the vertex with a dot and draw a square if the angle is a right angle. All right, so does it work? Nope, it's not going to work. I'm trying to find a little piece of paper so I can do this. But anyway, I'm going to draw what they have and show you what you're supposed to do. All right, so the first one they have is 2 rays sharing a common endpoint. And when you see that common endpoint, they're wanting you to do the dot for it like this. Take your red and make a red dot where they are together. Okay, that's what you're supposed to do. Okay, and now my red has black in it, so it doesn't look red. But that's what happens when you mix colors with markers. You shouldn't do that. It's not good. But anyway, that's what you need to do. And when you get to each one of them where they meet, you need to put a dot. Okay? Then, if you can, you need to find a piece of paper, and the only one I can find is a big piece of paper because I didn't think to bring a sticky note down here with me. And you're going to stick it in the corners until you find one where it fits. If you try to put it in the corner or the vertex of number 9, it doesn't fit. But if you put it in number 10, it fits perfectly. Okay? So, since number 10, and I'm going to put it in the same direction it is for you, so you can see that. All right, so number 10, is going like this. Okay, so what you're going to do is, first of all, take your red, and you're going to put a dot, a red dot right there on that vertex. Okay? It can actually be on it. I'm trying to not put it right on it because I don't want to get my black and my red mixed up, and then my red, see, it's writing a little bit black. But anyway, then you're going to take and think parallel to this, make a little line underneath that, and then parallel to this, make a little line going down so that you turn it into a square right there. So red dot right on the vertex, right there, and then make it into a square because that one is a right angle. Then if you try to take your paper and stick it in number 11, it does not fit. If you match it up to one line, it covers up the other. If you match it up to the other line, it covers up that line. So it doesn't fit. But you still need to mark the vertex with a red dot just like you did on number 9. All of them you need to put a red dot on. Okay? That was pretty easy. Let's move on to the next thing. Right beside that, you're still going to be doing some red dots because, again, it says to mark each vertex with a red dot. Now, this one already is put together. It is line segments put together to form a rectangle. It is a nice yellow rectangle. You need to take your red. I can't make mine be yellow, but you need to take your red and you're going to put a dot on every single corner because the first instruction here says to mark each vertex with a dot. Okay, so put a red dot on every single corner of the rectangle where all the endpoints meet. These two endpoints meet there, these two endpoints meet there, these two endpoints meet here, and these two endpoints meet here. Then they ask you how many line segments is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. So put a 4 where it says line segments. Then they ask you how many angles. Well, that forms 1 angle, 2 angles, 3 angles, and 4 angles. 4 line segments, 4 angles. And then the last thing they ask you is how many vertices. Actually, it does say vertices, doesn't it? Good. Finally says vertices. I've been using that word. That is the plural for vertex. Vertices. Well, you should have put 4 red dots. So there are 4 vertices. Because every time there was an angle, there was another vertex. So 4 vertices. So put 4 there. 4 line segments, 4 angles, 4 vertices. All right? All right, now we're going to be talking about patterns. All right, so if you look at the first one, number 13, you see circle, triangle, square, square, triangle, circle, circle, triangle, square, square, triangle, circle. You need to be saying circle, 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 because even though they started with the second circle originally, then they kept doing 2. They did 2 squares and a triangle, 2 circles and a triangle, 2 squares and a triangle, and it should be 2 circles. So you're going to start with the one that starts with a circle. So it's going circle, triangle, square, square, triangle, circle. So circle, that whole box. Beside it, they gave you 2 choices. 2 choices. The first row said triangle, square, square, triangle, circle, but you need to pick the one where it will make it be 2 circles in a row. Okay? You need to pick the one where it's making it be 2 circles in a row. Because if you look at the whole pattern, even though it started with just 1 circle, eventually it became 2 squares and a triangle, 2 circles and a triangle, 2 squares and a triangle, so it should be 2 circles. So you need to go with the one that starts with a circle. All right, now look at the second pattern. All right, when you look at the second pattern, it has to do with the directions of the arrows. So it's going up, to the right, down, to the left, up, to the right, down, to the left, up, to the right, down. So you need to pick the one where it's pointing to the left, okay? You need to pick the one where it's pointing to the left. There's 2 rows, and you're picking the one where it's pointing to the left. All right, now on the next one, it has to do with where the colored portion of this fraction. Okay, so we have a circle divided into thirds. And if you look, the purple section's on the right, then it's at the bottom, then it's at the top, then it's on the right, then it's at the bottom, then it's at the top. So the next would be the one where it's on the right. So pick the row and circle that row where the next one showed it being on the right. Very good. And when you've done that, go and turn your paper over. On the back, they have one of our terms that we've been learning, and then you have to circle the one that is that. So first of all, it says line segment. So a line segment just meant part of the line, so it would have had 2 endpoints. So you need to be circling the one that has dots on both ends. 2 endpoints. A line segment. Segment just means part of. So it has to have 2 endpoints because it starts here and it ends here. That's just part of a line. Not a line that goes on forever. Not even in one direction. All right, number 2, they want you to pick the right angle. Oh, so you need to pick one. I have too much going on here to be a right angle, but you need to pick one, where it forms a square. Sorry. And that would not be the first one. The first one is too small. It would not be the second one, because the second one, oh, I'm sorry, it would be the second one. It would not be the third one is what I meant to say, because that one's too big. The one in the middle is the one that forms a square. And I was going to erase part of this rectangle so I would have a right angle, but I dropped my board. All right, so it would look like this, except of course it would have the arrows. My markers are getting away from me. All right, so it would look something like that. That's the one you need to pick, the one in the middle. That's your right angle. All right, then they want you to circle the parallel lines. All right, parallel lines are two lines that never cross each other. So you need to pick the one where they're running side by side and never crossing each other. That would be the first one. Two lines that never cross. Then they want you to pick a ray. Remember what a ray was? A ray had one endpoint, so one dot and one arrow. That means it had a beginning, but then it went on the other direction forever. So one dot, one arrow. That's the one you need to be circling. The first one has two dots, so that can't be it. The second one has a dot and an arrow. No, it has two arrows. I'm sorry. So that would be a line. The first one is a line segment. The second one is line. So the third one is your ray, the one with a dot and an arrow. All right, then they want you to circle the intersecting lines. All right, so again, it says lines, so that's going to be two. The ones running side by side, never crossing? No, because intersecting lines cross. Pick the two lines that are crossing each other, intersecting lines. All right, and then number 6, they want you to do the vertical line. The vertical line. All right, so which way does vertical run? Straight up and down. So pick the line that's going straight up and down like this. Okay, so that's the one in the middle. Straight up and down, that's vertical. All right, now you need your red, again, your red colored pencil, because they are, again, asking you to mark the vertex with the dot. So on the triangle, you should be putting 3 dots, one on each corner. And they ask you how many line segments? 3. How many angles? 3. And how many vertices? 3. Very good. 3 line segments, 3 angles, 3 vertices. As easy as that. Okay? Because triangles have 3 sides, so that's 3 lines. It has 3 corners, so that's 3 angles, and also 3 vertices, because where the endpoints meet, those are called vertex, or the plural, vertices. Move over to number 8 now. Number 8, you have a square. All right? So again, you need to take your red and put dots on every corner where the endpoints meet, because that's your vertex. Okay? And then you're going to answer the questions. How many line segments? Well, top, side, bottom, side again. That's 4 line segments to make up this square. How many angles? Where 2 line segments meet, that's going to be an angle. All right, so there's 4 of those. And vertices, where you put the dots, 4 again. Very good. 4, 4, and 4. The last one. Wow. All right, so every single time there's a corner, you need to put a dot. To go around, take your red again and put dots for every single corner. Then count carefully. Start at the top and go around, counting carefully. How many did you get? You should have gotten 6. If you did not get 6, you might want to go back and count them again, because there are only 6 sides. Do you know what shape that would be? If it is a 6-sided figure, what shape is that? Did you say hexagon? Hexagon. Little hint for that. A hexagon has an X, so does the word 6. So a 6-sided figure is the hexagon. Okay? And so it has 6 line segments. If you counted them carefully, it would have 6 angles where the 2 line segments meet, forms an angle. And then the corner where they actually meet, the common endpoint, is called the vertices or vertex, but there's more than one, so there are 6 vertices. You should have 6 dots that you put. Okay, this next section I'm going to do it with you because it's been a while since we did our measurements. I wanted to remind you, make sure you have it correct. All right, so they want you to write the abbreviation for yard. The abbreviation for yard. All right, some of you probably remember, but it should be YD period. Abbreviation for yard. And we're going to go across to ounce. That would be the tricky one. Do you remember ounce? All right, it would be OZ period. That's why it's tricky, because it doesn't really make sense. It has to do with a different language. OZ period. All right, number 12 is the abbreviation for inch. Probably you remember that, but it is IN period. And the other tricky one, pound. All right, but again, it has to do with a different language. It is LB period. All right, so we got so far, the number 10 was yard, number 11 was ounce, number 12 was inch, number 13 is pound, which is LB period, and the last one is foot. So that's going to be FT period. FT period. All right, let's do the other side, and we'll go ahead and do that one together. I'm not going to write it on the board this time. You just need to listen carefully. How many inches are in a foot? I'll give you a hint. It's the same number of inches that should be on your ruler, because your ruler that you have for class should be a foot. And that would be 12 inches in a foot. Right? Going across, how many feet are in a yard? Remember, mine was a yardstick, and we actually picked it up and took rulers and put them on it. Do you remember how many rulers we were able to fit on this yardstick in school? That was 3. So there's 3 feet in a yard. And then if there's 12 inches in a foot and 3 feet in a yard, 12 times 3, or 12 plus 12 plus 12 is 36. 36 inches in a yard. 12 inches in a foot, 36 in a yard, because there's 3 feet in a yard, and 12 plus 12 plus 12, or 3 times 12 is 36. And the last one is how many ounces are in a pound? Do you remember how many ounces are in a pound? 16. 16. Some of you do, I'm sure, but some of you did not ever really get it memorized. So 16 ounces in a pound. All right, now I need you to get the reviews page. This is Friday. You would have done this paper in class anyway, okay, because you don't have math homework on Friday usually. So get page 217, 218. It should say more lines and angles, patterns at the top of it. Okay, this is the black and white paper from the reviews book. All right, let's just look at the gray box at the top to remind us. All right, they're reminding you a line has arrows on both ends. It goes in both directions. Array has one endpoint and one arrow, where it starts at one side and then goes on the other direction forever. And a line segment has 2 endpoints or 2 dots. Vertical lines are going up and down, horizontal back and forth. Parallel lines, 2 lines that never cross. Intersecting lines are 2 lines that do cross. And then over on the other side of the gray box, they're showing you the vertex, because that's what they're circling. You see they have a little circle around the dot where the 2 endpoints meet. They've circled it to tell you you're talking about the vertex. They're not talking about the fact that it's an angle. They're saying this is the vertex, and they've circled it there. And then the other one is also an angle, but it is a right angle, because you can make a little square in the corner of it. Okay? All right, so now you need to look in the gray box below there. They have A, B, C, D, E, and F, and we're going to put the right answer beside the word. So number 1 says ray. So looking at all of those, which one of those is a ray? Well, if you need to remind yourself, you can look back above and you see a ray has 1 endpoint and 1 arrow. So which one has 1 endpoint and 1 arrow? Letter E. Very good. So number 1 should be letter E. All right, number 2, going across, they're asking you which one is the line segment. All right, if you need to remind yourself, look up above you and you see line segments have 2 endpoints, 2 dots. So which one is that? Letter A. Very good. So put letter A for number 2, because letter A has 2 endpoints. All right, now number 3 is asking you which one is the vertex. Well, if you look at the gray box above, the one that was the vertex, where they were circling where the vertex was. So where do you see where they circled the vertex? That's letter D. Very good. Letter D. where they have a little circle around that dot, because that dot is the vertex, where the two endpoints meet on the angle. So letter D for number 3. All right, what about number 4? They're asking you which one is the right angle. Remember, a right angle is an angle where you can put a little square in the corner. So that's going to be letter F. Very good, letter F. All right, number 5, they want to know which is the intersecting lines. Intersecting lines are two lines that cross each other. They could cross at different angles, but they cross each other, so that is C. Very good. All right, and then the horizontal line. Which one is the horizontal line? All right, the only one we haven't used is B, and is it horizontal? Yes, it is. Very good. Horizontal line. All right, now we're going to do the same thing, but this time you're going to circle. We did this on the previous page. Number 7, line segment. Which one is a line segment? Line segments have two endpoints, so the one with the two dots, one on either end. That's the middle one. Very good. Which one is a right angle? All right, you probably could be able to look at them and tell. The first one is easy to tell that it's not a right angle. It's too small. The second one is a little bit tricky, but if you were to take your little corner on a piece of paper and stick it and line it up with one line, you can see that it's not going to touch the other line. Or if you try to line it up on the other side of the angle, it does not touch the other line. It cannot touch both lines at the same time. So it does not fit in the corner, okay? So then try the last one. Oh, and the corner fits in there perfectly. All right, so that last one in that row is the right angle. All right, now number 9, parallel lines. Parallel lines are two lines that never cross. So that is the first one. Very good. Which one is a ray in number 10? Number 10 is a ray. A ray has one endpoint and then goes on in the other direction forever. So that is the middle one, the one with a dot and an arrow. Intersecting lines. What do intersecting lines do? They cross. So pick the ones that cross. And then they ask for the vertical line. Which way do vertical lines go? Up and down. Straight up and down. This is horizontal, going across this way. So vertical is up and down. So pick the line that's going straight up and down. All right, now we're going to do pattern. The first one's pretty easy. Let's look at the pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You need to finish out that pattern. That one was way too easy. All right, and then for the next one, be neat. Okay, you got circle, square, circle, rectangle, circle, square, circle, rectangle. So you need to do next a circle, then a square, then a circle, then a rectangle. Please be sure that your square is about the same size as their square and that your rectangle is about the same size as their rectangle. Try to be as neat as you can with these, right? Because I need to be able to see a difference between your square and your rectangle. They should not look the same. All right, so just be neat. Do it slowly. All right. On the back, you're going to do the back on your own. You have to use your colored pencils to do those arrays and the multiplication problems. And then let me remind you about the jumps. Okay? So remember, when you're doing that multiplication problem, 2 times 4 means you're making 2 jumps, and each jump you should be counting by 4s. So you're going from 0 to 4, and then 4 to 8. 2 jumps because 2 is your first number, jumping by 4s because 4 is your second number. The second one is easy because it's 3 and 3, so it's still 3 jumps by 3s. All right? And then when you get to number 4, 5, and 6, you are not putting dots in all the boxes here. They already did the first one for you. In fact, they've already put dots in it for you. So they've already shown you what the number is. All you have to do is count how many boxes have dots. So the second number is how many dots you're going to put. Okay, because they put 3 dots in 8 boxes. So you know that answer is going to be 8. If you count, how many boxes have dots? So on the second one, the first number is how many boxes, and the second number is how many dots. Just refer back to the first problem. It showed you that. The first number is how many boxes, the second number is how many dots. So on the second one, you should be putting 4 dots, and you need to figure out how many boxes need dots to make 20. And the same thing on the last one. You're going to, again, be putting 4 dots in enough boxes to make 36. So the first number is the boxes, the second number is the dots. And then you have a story problem with another array at the bottom. Please make sure you're using colored pencils for those arrays. Okay. All right, I will see you next for language.